What's up, Droners? B here from Dronr Tech, brought to you by RemotePilot101.com. And today we're gonna talk about the drone news. And honestly, this is gonna be really good. Like, you should stick around for this because there's a lot. So let's get into it. So up first, the drone juggernaut DJI has released two new drones. The first is the sequel to the Petty Mavic, which is, they call the Mavic Mini. I call it the Petty Mavic. And it is called the Mini 2. For some reason, no more Mavic in the name. I'm curious to why that is. But either way, they pretty much are just like all the things that you wanted in the Mini has come in the Mini 2. And what they did is they put a 4K camera in it, which is like, all right, cool. That's pretty nice. They have longer flight time, and it also can handle like stronger winds. But all that doesn't matter because they're making you pay more for it. Okay, it does matter. It does matter because that's what you want from the drone. But yeah, this is actually gonna be the original Mavic Mini was $399, and then with the Fly More combo was $499. This drone right here is coming out at $449 or $600 for the Fly More. So 50 more for the baseline or 100 more for the entire Fly More, which I always recommend you get is the Fly More combo. But what is the difference here when it comes to those things? Like, the first thing we could talk about is that obviously it shoots in 4K and it can take photos in RAW instead of just JPEGs as before. So you're gonna have more space to be able to do things with, and pretty much everything's going up in quality. You're getting bigger images on your footage, as well as bigger images that you can do more color work with in your photos. Now, is this professional stuff? Not at all. We're still dealing with the 1 2/3 inch, 2.3 inch sensor, which is extremely small camera. So the bit rate is very, very low, but at the same time, it still is 4K, it still shoots in 30 frames, and can fly almost 36 miles an hour, which is a little bit faster than the one before because it was only about 29 before, and can handle up to 24-mile-an-hour winds while it flies, which before it only can handle 18. So the motors have improved, the camera's improved, they pretty much improved everything, and the weight is still just as petty. It's still under that threshold of 250 grams that makes it so that you have to register it with the FAA to even be a hobbyist flyer, which again is the pettiest thing ever. This is 249 grams, even though some people have been weighing them and finding them even less at about 242. But that doesn't really matter as long as it's under 250 because we're here for the pettiness. And I think DJI, actually, I have the original Mavic Mini, and I gotta give my hats off to DJI. This is a solid little bird that does its thing. And if you're a hobbyist and you just want a little drone for fun and you're willing to drop a little bit of money on it, this is probably the drone for you. And the second drone that DJI came out with is the Agras T20. And if you don't know what Agras means, it probably means something to do with agriculture, because this is an agricultural focused drone, because DJI is really trying to get into this enterprise side of things and take over that entire side of the industry as well, because, you know, the consumer side, the prosumer, and the professional camera game wasn't enough. Neither was the prosumer gimbals, prosumer gimbals, and the professional gimbals. That wasn't enough. We also need to take over the entire enterprise side of drone flying because, you know, DJI is here to take over the world. And what you see from the previous version of the Agras is that there are upgrades to the spray nozzles and the artificial intelligence that have made the drone way more efficient at being able to spray pesticides over crops and reduce waste. So it pretty much can just do better at the same stuff it was doing. And it has a new dedicated controller that makes the operation a little bit easier. It's more intuitive, and it sports the same tech as the Crystal Sky that allows you to be able to use it in direct sunlight. And when we say use it, it's like direct sunlight on your controller, seeing what you need to see. You can still do that same thing because a lot of screens aren't bright enough to be able to be seen in direct sunlight, but the Crystal Sky can do that. But the most impressive thing to me is that this actually can work in tandem with the Phantom 4 RTK model that can be used for 3D mapping. So pretty much you could be doing a 3D mapping version of what's going on while still spraying the pesticides and stuff. So you have two drones in the air at the same time working together to be able to give you full crop information while you're actually treating those crops, which is pretty cool. Looks like DJI is really coming after these ag-focused drone companies that are like, all we do is ag, we're here for the farmers, we are farmers that happen to build drones. And DJI is like, that's cool, we're the best at drones, so we're just gonna incorporate all the rest of the technology into this. And it can be pretty fully automated, so you don't really actually have to fly it at all. And honestly, like DJI is coming for you guys, so best of luck. There's a lot of RIPs going out there for all the other consumer drone and a lot of the other gimbal companies, so I wish you guys the best of luck against this juggernaut. On to the next. What we have next is big jumps in the technology for gas-powered and tethered drones. Now, Obviously, these aren't the type of drones that I'm flying, but I like to see the upscale in technology that allows more opportunity for more uses to be able to help humanity, help the environment, help everybody with drones, and being able to have drones in the, like, specifically quadcopter type drones in the air longer allows for us to be able to do a lot more things. Currently, Quantineerium holds the longest flight time for a gas-electric hybrid drone quad flight, and they beat their own record. Their record is 10 hours and 14 minutes in the air on one flight, which is absolutely insane. And I mean, first of all, I'm impressed that you can have a quadcopter in the air for that long. I'd love to know what it needs to be in the air for that long, or what the proposed activities would be, but I'm sure you build the technology, people build what you need for the technology afterwards. One best case use for this outside of agriculture or inspections of giant areas or huge area 3D mapping might actually be air taxis. Like, I've talked about the EHang drones before that are supposedly in Dubai right now, already in operation. Battery power that are flying people short distances all over the city as a mini helicopter pretty much. Maybe this is the best way that can end up happening, where you can actually get flight times that make this worth it. Where it's like, if I can keep a human being in the air for 3 hours, I can take them pretty far in a quadcopter. Whereas with the battery, you gotta have some limitations. So having that hybrid system might be able to help a lot. And obviously, you know, just to be able to talk about other records held by drones, NewAtlas.com put together some other record holders that I wanted to mention. The record for longest flight time for a battery-powered drone is actually set back in 2015, which feels like forever ago at this point, in Istanbul, when Saint Azkuz flew his 11-pound drone for 1 hour and 51 minutes and 51 seconds, which is ridiculously impressive, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced your name. The record for the longest flight time of a hydrogen-powered drone, which you think, as we talked about many times with cars and other things, could be the fuel of the future, was actually 12 hours, 7 minutes, and 5 seconds in South Korea. It was done in South Korea by a company named Metavision. And it was ugly, but extremely efficient drone that made this happen. But the biggest barrier to that is that you kind of have to keep hydrogen at negative 423.2 degrees Fahrenheit for it to be usable, as well as in storing it, you lose about 1% of the capacity of that hydrogen per day in storage. So it's not like you can put a gas car and just leave it for a month and come back and still have the same amount of gas. It doesn't work like that. You'll have lost 30% of your tank. So there's still a lot of challenges when it comes to how hydrogen power can work and how we can store it and how we can keep it at the correct temperature so that it becomes viable. But when we get there, it seems like it is promising. And as I did mention in the beginning of this, there are also tethered drones. There's a French company called Elistar that announced that their Orion 2 tethered drone can stay in the air for 24 hours. And after that 24 hours, it only needs 10 minutes on the ground to be able to do a little bit of maintenance to it. It can go back up for another 24. Now this for me has the vibes of security drone all over it. And it's like, I just imagine a James Bond movie in the back of my mind, like, okay, there's that 10-minute window, the drones aren't in the air, so we can like infiltrate, whatever. But either way, that being said, that's still a very, very impressive amount of flight time, even for a tethered drone, and only having 10 minutes of maintenance in between that is pretty impressive. So looking at that, tethered drones are obviously seeing a lot more use for military, disaster relief, but things like sporting events and security is probably where they're gonna be used the most. All right, so up next, a gauntlet has been dropped into the drone arena, and it feels like there wasn't gonna be too many more of these happening because DJI is just a juggernaut, Chinese company juggernaut. So who could possibly compete with this juggernaut Chinese company that's making these drones so much better than anyone else? Let me think. Oh, I know, Sony. Sony, who has dominated so many different areas of the world, to be honest. Like, they have their own studio that has great movies. They make their cameras that are widely used across everything. They have TV, like they have everything. They even had a car at a recent show that I was like, they're coming out with a possible car. And now they're gonna come at the drone industry. And at first I was like, they ain't ready. But then I thought about it, it's like, these people ain't GoPro. This ain't gonna be the camera they come out with. Like, if they're talking about it and announcing it, they must have something that is worth announcing. They must have ideas that are worth doing, and obviously they have the capital to be able to compete with a company like DJI because they are a multinational conglomerate based in Japan. So I'm really eager to see this. Their new brand for this is gonna be called Air Peak, which Air Peak feels like, it almost feels like taking shots at DJI immediately because it's like, well, we're the peak in the air. I don't know what DJI means, but this is what we mean. Either way, all the petty aside, I'm really excited to see because they said that they're going to fully launch the program in spring of 2021, and thus far, all they've really shown us is a picture of a rotor, kinda, and told us the name of it. So there's not really much to report besides DJI needs to watch its flank because they got a competitor coming for them. And I think that the drone industry is extremely difficult to get into, but it requires a lot of money, a lot of R&D, and just a hint of creativity to be a little different. We'll see if Sony can bring that to the table. All right, up next, I'm not gonna say I was most excited about this story, but I'm actually, y'all know how I get with like new technology that really can change things, and we're just gonna get into this one. So we were talking about hybrid drones earlier, and there was actually a hybrid drone that just conducted a first ship-to-submarine delivery made off the coast of Hawaii. The super cost-effective way to resupply submarines. Cool. We're resupplying submarines with drones. Great, that's amazing. Good job, military, because they're the only people who have submarines. Congratulations and research festivals. I'm super happy for you guys. But that's not what I'm excited about here. Skyfront, that did the delivery, has introduced a technology that is a handoff technology. Like, what do you mean handoff, Brennan? Well, you know, when I'm flying my drone, if I have a controller on the ship, and then the submarine pilot or whoever's over there has a controller on their ship, I can hand off control of my drone from my controller to their controller. So I could fly it towards them and then they can bring it to themselves and land it. So I don't have to try to land it for them, they can land it for themselves. That handoff technology can instantly change a lot of things. Specifically for me, when it comes to the laws that govern the way that drones are operated right now, when it comes to visual line of sight and pilots in command and doing longer shots on like things like races and things like that around the corners of mountains, being able to go over obstacles, like this is gonna be able to change the type of shots that we're able to do as professional drone pilots if we can do seamless handoffs between multiple drone pilots. And if you take it a step further and say like for FPV flying, that's first-person view flying, that's kind of like drone racing, stuff like that. They have limited range by the ability that they can see what they can. But if you have two really dope FPV pilots over a course of a really big area and the flight times get a little bit longer, you're gonna be able to see some really creative things that we're not able to do right now. So for me, this technology is absolutely incredible. It seems like it worked really, really well. This type of technology is super exciting for me because of the possibilities. And I know I always tell you guys to keep your eye on some type of tech or how it's gonna change some stuff with the Tether, the hybrid. This one right here is the kind of thing that you're gonna see DJI and possibly, like I said before, Sony implementing in camera drones probably sooner than later. And I'm really interested to see how legislator catches up with this type of technology because this is a game changer. So keep both eyes on this. And everybody loves a drone show, right? The Biden campaign won the election. It's no longer disputed by anyone for the most part, except for the one. But it's pretty much universally known now that the incoming administration will be the Biden-Harris administration. And to celebrate that, they had a show, a drone show. You guys know about, we've talked about the Intel 100, the Intel 300, the Intel 500. They had that same similar drone light show, which made me so happy because letting people understand that not only we can celebrate things in the most beautiful, epic way, we can use drones to do it, and it just shows another use case for that. And it also, for me, shows the forward thinking of this administration and that, you know, like celebrating the use of these and the safety of these types of drones and understanding that technology is the way forward. I think this light show was showing a lot more than just beautiful, pretty lights. I hope that it's showing forward thinking and the use of these types of machines and drones in our future government as well as domestic and policy making things. I hope that looking and using technology first to be able to help solve a lot of these problems that we're facing right now as a country and as a world, I think is a big deal. And so I'm hoping to pull a little bit of extra optimism out of this beautiful light show that they use all these drones that I've seen personally before, which is amazing. And I'm hoping that this does show us a sign, a beacon in the night towards wonderful, wonderful things because there's a lot of things going on in the world right now. And we need a lot of hope, so I'm hoping this is some of that. All right, Droners, thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of Dronr News. Obviously, it was brought to you by the GOAT of drone training for your Part 107 license. That is remotepilot101.com. Gotta check out the fam. As always, make sure you guys subscribe, like, comment, so I know that you care that we're doing this for you. And make sure that you stay fly.